Welcome to our Mobilizing Leadership production of Living Leadership. This series works from the premise that leadership is not a title, but a mindset. Filmed in one take, it explores how people navigate beyond the status quo and captures their insights on what leadership looks like across their work, life, and community. The Discovery Whiteboard session is facilitated by Stuart Morse, and we welcome our guest. So we're back here with another session of what it's like to live leadership, and I'm here with Julia Pena here today with me, and just going to have a discussion about leadership. So Julia, first of all, thanks for coming and being on, doing this with me, and it's really, so tell me what it's like in leadership in your world as a, what's your position?
So I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Span Construction Engineering.
Okay.
And I am part of our, top leadership team. And we have been working very heavily the last year to evolve ourselves and what leadership is. It's been quite a journey we've been on.
So you're in this leadership position, you're at this senior leadership level, but how do you see leadership kind of showing up? You said about this evolving. Tell me a little bit about how leadership lives within that context.
So for me and for our organization right now, leadership lives in two places, I feel. One is that we definitely have to meet people where they are because we have, some struggles.
Okay.
And so it's important that we're, really reaching down and being cognizant of that. But I also feel like we have to be very forward thinking and look ahead and plan towards where we want leadership to be and go so that we're prepared for it.
Okay, so you're saying, so if what I'm hearing you say is we've got these individuals, meet people where they are, but then also leadership, let me just write it here, leadership needs to be also, so meet those folks there, but also go out to where you want it to be, so
Yep.
Future, or sometimes we use that term desired future state.
Correct, yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the how you have to think differently in those two areas and how leadership needs to show up differently.
Well, I feel that leadership, when you're meeting people where they are, you have to be very in the moment. You have to be very intentional.
So down here, so it has to show up more in the moment.
In the moment, yes.
Okay.
And when we're looking at what we need for future, you have to be very forward thinking and still in the moment, but you have to think about what the moment is going to be like in the future and anticipate that.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing you say is this concept of, well, and that's an interesting concept, this idea that, okay, if I need to be in the moment with these folks, but then I also need to be able to kind of extrapolate that and understand what those moments
are going to be in the future.
Are going to be in the future. So these future moments. Okay. So how is that? So for you to navigate this, how has that been for you to think like this, just personally?
Well, you have to be very agile first and foremost because it's hard to do both, to play both roles. You have to be willing to constantly self-assess and make sure that you're being what is needed in that moment and you're preparing yourself for what you know that the company and your team are going to need from you in the future. Okay,
so the self-assess, but then also prepare yourself. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
So what's that? What kind of... So those are some big things. You hear all these experts talk about know thyself, and you're talking about it in a very concise kind of way. How has it been to get your head around that? And did you come into this going, oh, this feels natural, or is some of it new? What was it like?
It's definitely not natural for me. I'm personally very linear, so I want to tackle A, B, C, D, and I've had to be able to think about A and plan for D, and so that's a little bit more difficult for me. I also have had to sharpen my people skills quite a bit, because a lot of what people need in the moment is emotional context and not something from my expertise.
Sharpen people's skills. And that, so tell me a little bit more about that emotional context. What do you mean by that, or how do you define it in your own words?
Well, what I mean is that when people are in a situation where they really need leadership, they are carrying with themselves some type of emotion into the moment, and you have to be able to read that emotion, react to it, and for you to be able to get them to the next step, you have to allow for that emotion, but also walk them through to the emotion that you need them to have for leadership to be successful.
So I say walk them forward?
Correct.
Okay. Interesting. So how does it, so that on that emotional piece, how does that, or does it, what is it, how does it live over in this space, or does it mostly remain here?
Well, I mean, I think it's primarily here, but it lives here in where we are as leaders. I think that we have to think about how the company would feel at that time. Where is our team?
Okay, so you've got the individual, from hearing you say, is the individual and how they're feeling in the moment, but then the company, how the company should feel.
Yes, and what it would feel like to be a part of the team if you got to that point. What would that feel like, and what emotions are needed to be successful at that place.
How new is that type of thinking? I mean, is it? Do you find that is it kind of different, or is it?
It's 100% different for me. Like I said, I'm very linear. I like structure. I can plan for organizational changes through through structure and moving people around. But to be cognizant of their emotion is completely new for me. But it's been overall, I would say, very successful, because people, when you're cognizant of the way that they feel, even if you don't say it out loud, right? A lot of times it's just the way that you react to a situation. People will go with you places that they wouldn't have otherwise gone.
Okay, so success, it sounds like it's allowing some, maybe a broader bandwidth of results or possibilities?
Yeah, because people buy into it. They take ownership. When they have, it's not just a structural move. I moved you from place A to place B. It's emotionally, I changed from being this position to that position.
So the greater comfort with change, would that be fair to say, or is it?
I think there's a greater comfort with change, but I also think that, when people feel good about a situation, or bad, right, it helps them basically be a part of it, instead of, if you can get emotion involved, it helps them be a part of it rather than just, well, they told me what to do.
Right, be a part of it versus just told me.
Versus just told me, correct. And for the level of change that we're trying to enact, you have to have that. We can't grow the company like we want to, and we can't have the healthy structure that we want without having people emotionally invested.
So what is it? So you've got these, these dynamics. I'm going to kind of heavy up these arrows. What has it done with these arrows, or even the journey, be able to get from here to there, and what that, I guess I should be this arrow. What has it done to this journey arrow right there? Well,
it's accelerated that journey, and it's unlocked things. So what being emotionally cognizant in the moment and planning for the future is, it's really unlocked the speed that we move, even though initially it was more difficult and a slower process, because it's not just telling someone, well, you're not in this position anymore, now you're here, right? That's an easy move, but so it's a slower a more committed process, I feel like. But at the end, we've been able to make a lot of progress in an amount of time that I don't think anybody would have expected.
So, and I think you bring up right here, it's this kind of final point. I think you started to wrap this up here, the fact that, and going back to your comment that it's a little different, but here, just in this that what you just said, I heard you say, it's given us speed and we're able to do things faster, but the process of going about it is actually about slowing down a little bit.
Absolutely.
So if you would think that'd be counterintuitive, that if I slow down and address this a little differently, I can actually move faster.
Well, that's correct, but the reason why you move faster is because you have so many people involved, all
Okay.
pointed in the same direction. It's not you pulling somebody with you.
Okay.
Everybody's moving together.
Okay, moving together, interesting. Well, Julia, well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing. This has been really interesting to have a kind of compressed conversation with you around this. What are any final thoughts on that you'd like to add to this, of what we've kind of laid out?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having the conversation and sharing this with you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you to our guest and the Sprint Ahead Mobilizing Leadership people who are collectively working to create leadership for all through shared purpose, connected communities, new opportunities to learn, and action-based leadership experiences. We look forward to hearing your insights. Please connect and move forward with us.